If you are fearful about anything that you feel that you are called to do, just take the first step. And once you take the first step, you'll notice that the stairway will become clearer. And then you'll take your second step and your third, and so on and so forth, until you become the woman or the man that God has called you to be. Thanks for joining the CC America podcast, where we are getting mentally fit through testimonies of faith, inspiration, and transformation. We hope you enjoy the show. Hello, and welcome to another live taping of the CC America podcast. I am your host, Tomeria Jordan, and this week I'm doing something a little bit different. This is just a check-in for anyone that is tuning into the podcast for the first time, or maybe you've been around for a little while now, but maybe you don't know my story. So today is just a short podcast to reintroduce to you the CC America podcast for those who may not know my story, and for those who have been following us, to let you know what you can expect in the remainder of season 2 and beyond. So for those who are just tuning in, the CC America podcast was created from a vision that started in 2010. So unfortunately, on this day, 11 years ago, we lost my great aunt, and I still remember the moment. I still remember where I was when I got the phone call. I still remember how I felt on this day. And when I look at life now, it really does make me appreciate things, because growing up in the neighborhood that I grew up in, we were so close and we had so many family members around us at all times. And unfortunately, being in such a close-knit community and with so many family members, you do go through more periods of grief and loss than if you say, for instance, you're from a family where individuals are spread out a little bit further. So I am so grateful for all of the moments and memories that I had with my family, but I also recognize that my life experiences may be different than those who do not grow up in a close community like the one that I did. So on this day, I remember that feeling of grief and heaviness and sadness. And as I look back over where we are 11 years later, I am grateful for the relationship that I have with my family. I am grateful for the relationship I have with my aunt's children. I am grateful for any amount of time I am able to spend with my family and friends. And so when I think about this podcast and I think about the vision that came to me in August of 2010, so that was several months later, I remember again where I was, how I felt, what I was doing. And it was one day in August when I said to myself, I am not what someone else calls me. I am someone who inspires the lives of others through service, dedication, and faith. So fast forward to March 2020. In February of last year, my husband and I found out that we were pregnant. And in that same month, we found out that we were going through a miscarriage. So in February, around the 17th, that is the day that I had surgery. And unfortunately, the surgery was unsuccessful. So after 13 miscarriage pills, a 10-day antibiotic, several visits, I realized that I was in a fight for my life, meaning African American women have higher mortality rates as it relates to childbirth. And in my situation, things could have really turned ugly, because it was a period that was very scary. There were so many uncertainties, so many questions that I had. But when I look back over the past year, I'm grateful to still be standing and having a platform in which both myself and my guests can really encourage the lives of others through faith, inspiration, and transformational stories. So I share my truth in hopes of being able to uplift someone else. So when you think about the context of giving birth, going through what I went through in 2020 and also all of the years prior, it really gave me the push that I needed to make the leap of faith and start following my own dreams of inspiring the lives of others. So when I think about my vision from 2010 and when I made that my personal mantra, and then fast forward 11 years later, and now I can say, I am walking in that purpose. I am being obedient. I am no longer focused on the sacrifice, but I am doing what I feel that God has called me to do. It feels really good because at the end of my workday, when I have an opportunity to do this, I enjoy it. This is my release. And during this process, I am learning. I am learning from my guests. I am learning from each of you. Those who leave comments or send me private messages, know that I appreciate it, and I am happy that this show is being a blessing to you. So if you are being blessed by this show, please feel free to share it. You never know who could be touched by the stories and the testimonies that will be shared. For those who have been riding with us from day one and those who have hopped on the train and are still riding with us today, know that you can expect more stories of faith, inspiration, and transformation. Stories that will help encourage, uplift, and inspire you to fulfill your dreams, to become the men and women that God called you to be, to live in the now, to do the things that God has called you to do, to use the talents that He has put inside each and every one of you. Each of us has been blessed by the Father to wake up each and every day. And each and every day that we are still here on this earth, it's another opportunity for us to do something and use our talents and use our gifts to make an impact on this world, whatever that is. And I don't know if you had an opportunity to hear my podcast episode from last week, but I talked about who we post to be as it relates to social media. But when you think about who you are meant to be, you are unique. And so walk in your purpose. And the illustration I used during that show is there's a tree. Trees have trunks, they have leaves, they have branches, they have roots. All aspects of that tree are what make the tree what it is. They all play a part in the growth and development of that tree. And just like the kingdom of God, each one of us plays a different part. We're not all here to play the same part. Like on a football field, each player plays a position. So in this thing called life, I will say, play your position and live a life that you can be comfortable with, a life that you are excited to wake up and do every day. So I, again, thank each and every one of you for tuning into this show. This was just a season 2 check-in just to let you know what's happening, what the future is for the show. And for any of those who didn't know what this show was about, to give you a little bit of insight with regard to where this show started, why this show started, and what you can expect going forward. So today, I want to leave you with an affirmation. And one of the things that I wrote down, it was from the book Miracle Morning. I really thought that this was a fantastic piece. And for anyone that's wondering, I forgot to mention this. CC America stands for Confidence Centers of America. It's a play on words, CC as in carbon copy. It's almost like I'm sending an email to myself, carbon copying everyone else. Or when we have our guests, it's a conversation with myself and someone else, carbon copying the world so that everyone can hear our lessons learned, so that they can glean some information and maybe do something differently. And maybe they won't feel that they need to do anything differently, but hopefully they will leave inspired. So today I'll leave you with one of the affirmations that I wrote down actually in February of 2018. And it says, I am just as worthy, deserving, and capable of achieving extraordinary levels of success in all of my goals as any other person on earth, and that the only thing that separates me from those people at the top is my level of commitment. So from this moment on, I am 100% committed to becoming the person I need to be through daily personal development and living with daily discipline to easily attract, create, and sustain the levels of success that I truly want and deserve in my life. And I'll tell you, that book, there were so many wonderful affirmations and so many things that I just jot down as the ideas come to me. Sometimes it's literally a phrase, sometimes it's a thought, it could be a quote. It just comes to me and I write it down. And so I have been tracking these things for years, which is hilarious. But I thank God, because when I fast forward and I look at the podcast episodes, I'm able to pull from those things that I've been writing down since 2010. And some of you may know and some of you may not, but I used to have a inspirational blog, which allows me to pull from. It allows me to have show ideas and quotes and topics. And so I just get so excited that even though I wasn't ready to take all of the steps back in 2010, I started taking some steps. And those steps are what have led me to where I am today, getting different skills, different experiences, growing as a professional, developing my skill sets, have all contributed to where I am today. So I just encourage you, if you are fearful about anything that you feel that you are called to do, just take the first step. And once you take the first step, you'll notice that the stairway will become clearer. And then you'll take your second step and your third, and so on and so forth, until you become the woman or the man that God has called you to be. And on that note, good people, have a blessed day. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the CC America podcast. We appreciate you tuning in week after week and joining us for stories of faith, inspiration, and transformation. So that you never miss an update, please subscribe at www.ccamericapodcast.com. You can also follow us on all of our social media platforms at CC America LLC. You can also just search for CC America on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. We hope that you are encouraged and inspired by this show. If so, please don't hesitate to share the episodes or let people know that you are listening so that they too can be inspired. We appreciate your support, and until next time, be blessed.